Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make a whole roast chicken with potatoes and onions and garlic. It's just fantastic. It's perfect for a Sunday night dinner or anytime you're craving something comforting but that you can pretty much put in the oven and it takes care of itself. This is a perfect recipe. So before we get started, let's go over the ingredients. You're going to need a whole chicken, and I'll talk about this in just a minute. You're going to need some Yukon Gold potatoes, a lemon, onions, some fresh rosemary, some garlic, teeny tiny bit of butter, salt, pepper, and olive oil. Now, there are just a couple of key things you must do in order for your chicken to come out juicy and delicious every single time. And the principle for this really applies to when I make my turkey as well, which if you've seen my Thanksgiving turkey episode, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Number one, before you roast any kind of meat, really, you want to make sure you take it out of the fridge about an hour or so before you cook it. Because otherwise, by putting it straight from the fridge to the hot oven, you're shocking it, giving it a really tough, like the meat becomes really tough. Think of it like when you take a shower, for example. If you're in the bathroom, it's nice and warm, and then you just jump into cold water, you seize up, you get cold. And same thing happens to the chicken. It seizes up, and it comes out kind of tough. You don't want that. So take it out of the fridge about an hour or so before you cook it. Tip number one. Tip number two is to really not do that much to it. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you get too crazy with the seasoning and the messing around with it and taking it in and out of the oven, you know, the temperature goes up and down and up and down. It's going to be very uneven cooking temperature. It's extremely basic, but that's the truth. And the number three is you want to make sure that your chicken, your turkey, your meat is fresh. Don't get something that's frozen and then partially thawed and then you put it in the oven. A big, big mistake. So those are your three must-knows to making a perfect roast chicken, turkey, beef, whatever. So now that I've jibber-jabbered a bit, let's get started into the cooking. You want to get your oven to 425, get that ready for you. Second thing you want to do is take a little bit of olive oil and get your roasting dish and place it at the bottom. Now that, I'll explain in just a minute. I'm going to actually, before I even touch the chicken, because cross-contamination, once you touch a chicken, you gotta wash your hands and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna prep my potatoes. I have to have roast potatoes with the roast chicken. I mean, it's like the law. So what I do is I take a couple of Yukon Golds that I have just scrubbed really well, and I cut them in big chunks like this, and then put them in my roasting dish. Last one. Great. So then, I'm going to take some cloves of garlic, and I'm not gonna peel them because this is going to be in the oven for a while and at a relatively high temperature, and if I were to peel the garlic, it would burn. And if it burns, it's bitter, it's gross. You're going to have to just pretty much throw everything out, because once you taste burnt garlic, it just overwhelms everything else. So I just leave them right in the skin. They become really sweet, really tender. I love them. My husband and I fish, the tray for them because both of us love them so much that we try to outdo each other when it comes to the roasted garlic. So I'm pretty much going to put in about a whole head of garlic, unpeeled. It couldn't get easier than that. I'm going to leave out one clove because I'm going to use that for my chicken. So now that you have that done, take some rosemary. You can chop it or you can just strip it right off the stem here, just like so. A couple sprigs should be just enough because it can be overpowering, as we all know. Season them with salt and pepper. Make sure you season them well. Great. A little bit more olive oil to help them roast. And then this is what I do. I toss them around, right? And then I push them to the side. You want to make sure they're in a single layer, always. But then I push them to the side and I leave this open, okay? Now I'm going to wash my hands and prep my onion. All I'm doing is pretty much peeling the very outside layer of my onion. Just like so. And I'm going to cut it in big, thick slices. And then I just arrange them on a single layer at the bottom. Now, why am I doing this? Is because I want my chicken to sit on the onion. And the reason why I'm doing that is for two things. Number one, flavor. Number two, because it's not sitting directly on the pan, it allows the air to circle around the chicken and roast evenly. Again, I'm just trying to make this chicken cook evenly so it doesn't taste tough and tasteless and like shoestring, it wouldn't be pleasant. So just a couple key things in there just to ensure it comes out juicy. So now I have a couple tablespoons of butter here, and I'm going to take some rosemary and just strip it right off the stem. And then just finely chop the rosemary. I like it to be finely chopped because that way I feel like it distributes better with the butter and I don't get any big pieces of rosemary, which can be overwhelmingly, you know, almost like a perfume tasting. So that's good. Put that right in there with the butter. And then in here, I'm going to take a couple of small cloves of garlic or one big clove of garlic, and I'm just going to grate this with my microplane. You can finely chop it if you want to, but I like doing it this way because you get almost like a paste, and that way no one bites on a big piece of garlic, you know? So I have 2 small cloves here, but that will be fine. Season your butter with salt and pepper. Great. And then just with a fork or with a spoon, just mash it all together. You're making pretty much a compound butter, which is exactly what we did when I roasted the turkey for Thanksgiving. My butter's done. I also just cut my lemon in half and my garlic just right. I cut the whole head of garlic right down in half. Now, you know, this is really important when you're cooking with poultry or meat. Get everything else ready and then you get started on this meat itself. Now, all I'm going to do is using my fingers. I can use a fork to help me along as well if I need to. I am going to make a little pocket right under the skin. And I did the same thing when I roasted my turkey. And this keeps the meat, you know, the breast and all the way down here so moist. It's a step that I always take when I make a roast, anything really, chicken or whatever. And then I take about 3/4 of my butter and I put it right in there. And then I just massage it. And you don't have to be too precise and too perfect because this is going to melt and pretty much it's going to be basting itself, which is great because I don't have to bother. And then all I'm going to do is take the rest of this butter and put it on the top so it can crisp up and get lots of deliciousness and flavor kind of go all over the place, if it gets off my hands anyway. That's perfect. So now, before I wash my hands, I'm just going to continue to stuff this baby. I'm going to put the whole thing of garlic in there. Okay. And lemon. A whole shebang. Great. And then I'm going to take some string here, which is just some kitchen twine, and I'm just going to tie the legs together. It's really all I'm doing. I don't do any French dressing or any of that. I just tie the legs together. Take your bird, which as you can see I have it sitting on paper towels because after I washed it, I want to just make sure all the excess water drains off on the paper towel, and you want to make sure the top is really dry as well. Sit it on your onions, and now what I'm going to do is wash my hands, drizzle some olive oil, salt, pepper, not olive oil, drizzle some salt and pepper, which we're not even drizzling. We are seasoning. I'm losing my mind today. Wash my hands and then I'll show you how to season it. Now, all I'm going to do is just season the top of the bird, including the wings and the legs, really well with some salt and pepper. There we go. And now since this is about 6 pounds, I'm going to put this into the oven, 425, and I'm going to let it roast without even bothering it for about an hour and 45 minutes or so. And you want the internal temperature to be about 170, and you just take a thermometer, insert it into the thigh and leg right here to the fattest part, and if it reaches 170, it's perfect. Or if you don't have a thermometer, just take a little knife, cut into it. If the juices run clear and not pink, it's done. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's out of the oven. My chicken roasted for about an hour and 40 minutes. And it is perfect. I tested it with a thermometer right here and it reached 170, which is perfect temperature for poultry, which with poultry you cannot have it, it can't be medium, medium well, medium, it has to be cooked all the way through. And now all I'm doing is just putting it in a dish, and my potatoes that are beautifully caramelized and roasted, I'm putting them all around it. And those onions that we sat the chicken on top of are incredibly soft and juicy. So I'm putting those right along. And now I'm not going to carve it now because it's really best to let this rest for about 10 to 15 minutes before you carve it. And this just came out of the oven. And if I were to carve it right now, I will lose all the juices, leaving me with a really dry chicken. But if you want to know how to carve it It's the same method I use when I carve my turkey. And I do have an episode on that, so go ahead and check that out over here. And guess what? You'll know how to carve a chicken because it's the same as carving a turkey. That's it. I do want to give just a sneak look at the top, by the way. Look at this. This is all crunchy and delightful. And I just want to take a little piece right here. See the juices? You see that? Look, if you look closely, you'll see juices running down. Look, see? Perfect. That means you're going to have a juicy chicken, but you really should wait 10 minutes before you slice it because you don't want to lose those juices. I'm really excited to eat this. And leftover roast chicken, you can make everything with it. You can put on a salad, make a quick soup, you name it. Perfect. It is so juicy, it's unbelievable. I'm not kidding. Follow these steps and you will have the perfect roast chicken every single time, no matter what seasoning you put on it. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. To get this recipe and others, go to www.laureninthekitchen.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I have some golden, sorry. Let me think of the name for this. I can't think of the name of these potatoes. This is ridiculous. Why can I think of the name of these potatoes? I use them every day. Golden Delicious is an apple. What is the name of these potatoes? They're not russet. They're something else. Oh, come on, Laura, think. Yukon Gold. What's wrong with me? Okay, restart.